The world's tiniest kingdom is for sale. What if I told you that for less than the price of a new video game, you could become a lord or a lady? And I don't mean in some online game, I mean in a self-proclaimed kingdom with its own royal family, its own money, and a history of fighting off invaders with actual guns. This isn't a movie plot. This is the story of the Principality of Sealand, a rusting metal fortress in the North Sea that claims the title of the world's tiniest and most stubborn micronation. It's a wild tale of pirate radio, armed mercenaries, and one incredibly defiant family who decided to just build their own country, against all odds. Our story starts not with a castle, but with 2 concrete towers and a steel deck about 7.5 miles off the coast of Britain. This is Ruff's Tower, one of several sea forts built during World War II to defend against Nazi planes. Known as Monsel forts, these lonely giants were abandoned by the military in 1956 and left to the mercy of the sea. For a decade they sat silent, but in the swinging 60s they became the perfect base of operations for a cultural revolution. Back then, the BBC controlled the British airwaves and famously refused to play much of the rock and roll the youth were hungry for. So a new kind of rebel broadcaster was born, the pirate radio operator. They set up shop on ships and abandoned forts in international waters, just outside the grip of British law, blasting pop music 24/7 to millions of fans. Enter Major Paddy Roy Bates. A World War II vet with an adventurer's spirit, Roy was a perfect fit for the swashbuckling world of pirate radio. He set up his station, Radio Essex, on a fort named Knock John. But the government quickly shut him down, declaring the fort was in British territory. A lesser man would have quit. But Roy Bates was just getting started. He needed a new base, one that was undeniably outside of Britain's reach. He set his sights on Ruff's Tower. In 1967, Roy Bates and his family sailed out to Ruff's Tower and took it over from a rival group of broadcasters. He had everything he needed to get his radio station back on the air, but a much grander idea started to take root. This platform wasn't just a base, it was an artificial island in international waters. No nation on Earth had a legal claim to it. In legal terms it was terra nullius, nobody's land. So, on September 2nd, 1967, Roy did something completely audacious. He declared the independence of Ruff's Tower as the Principality of Sealand. And since every kingdom needs a king, he crowned himself Prince Roy, and, in a birthday gift for the ages, made his wife Joan his princess. A nation was born. They designed a red, white, and black flag and adopted a motto, E Mare Libertas, from the sea, freedom. They would eventually issue their own constitution, currency, stamps, and passports. The Bates family had founded their own sovereign state on a 550 square meter platform. Life was tough. It was cold, damp, and isolated. But it was theirs. The British government, however, was not amused. It said that some officials privately worried about having a Cuba off the east coast of England. Declaring yourself a nation is one thing. Defending it is another. The Bates family quickly proved they were willing to do whatever it took. The first big test came in 1968. When a British government boat sailed too close to service a buoy, Roy's teenage son Michael fired warning shots from a .22 pistol. Roy, as a British subject, was hauled into court back in England on firearms charges. But in a stunning twist, the judge threw out the case. He ruled that the incident happened outside of British jurisdiction. For Roy Bates, this was a massive victory. He saw it as the first de facto recognition of Sealand's sovereignty. But the craziest chapter was still to come. In 1978, a German businessman named Alexander Achenbach, who had helped draft Sealand's constitution and called himself its prime minister, decided to stage a takeover. While Prince Roy and Princess Joan were away, lured to Austria by Achenbach to discuss a business deal, he launched a coup. He hired German and Dutch mercenaries who stormed the platform by helicopter and speedboat. They captured Prince Michael, tied him up, and held him hostage for days before dumping him on a fishing boat. Achenbach had seized Sealand, but he had seriously underestimated Roy Bates. Roy immediately assembled his own team of loyalists for a counterattack. In a daring dawn helicopter raid, they retook their kingdom. The mercenaries, caught completely by surprise, surrendered immediately. Now, Roy had prisoners of war. He released the Dutch citizens, but the German lawyer who led the raid, who held a Sealand passport, was charged with treason and held for a $35,000 ransom. This sparked a bizarre diplomatic crisis. The German government, after failing to convince Britain to step in, sent a diplomat from its London embassy directly to Sealand to negotiate. After weeks of talks, Roy released the man. But in his mind, the fact that Germany sent an official envoy to his platform was the ultimate proof. It was de facto recognition of Sealand's sovereignty. The story of Sealand is a testament to what a small group of determined people can achieve, and it thrives thanks to the support of an independent-minded community. In that same spirit, I'd like to take a second to thank you. Your likes, comments, and subscriptions are what keep this project alive. So if you're enjoying the journey, consider supporting it by hitting like, subscribing, and letting me know in the comments which story you'd love to hear next. Now, let's dive into how this tiny metal kingdom survives today, and how you could even become part of its legacy. These days, the dramatic times of firefights and coups are mostly just the stuff of legend. Prince Roy passed away in 2012, and Princess Joan followed in 2016, leaving their son Michael, the very same guy who defended the fort as a teenager and was even held hostage during the coup, to rule as Prince Michael of Sealand. He actually runs the principality mostly from his home in England, while just a handful of caretakers live out on the platform. As of 2024, it's reported that Sealand has only one permanent resident. So you might be wondering, how does such a tiny nation keep itself going? Well, after a failed attempt in the 2000s to become an offshore internet data haven called Haven Co., they landed on a much more successful business model, selling aristocratic titles. Through Sealand's official website, pretty much anyone can buy their way into the nobility. For about £25, you can become a lord or lady of Sealand. A barony will set you back about £40. And if you're feeling ambitious, you can become a count or countess for around £200, or even a duke or duchess for nearly £500. Now these titles don't grant you any legal privilege in other countries, of course, but they do come with a fancy deed and a spot in one of the most eccentric communities on Earth. And people have definitely bought in. The appeal has attracted thousands, including some famous names. Musician Ed Sheeran actually confirmed he was made a Baron of Sealand back in 2012, tweeting, "I am a Baron. Awesome." Others like TV personality Jeremy Clarkson have also been linked to titles. It's a novelty, a statement, and honestly, a way to support a living piece of history. For a small fee, you're not just buying a piece of paper, you're helping to keep this monument to defiance alive. From a World War II relic to a pirate radio haven, from a family home to a self-declared kingdom that actually repelled armed invaders, Sealand's story is a testament to sheer stubborn individualism. It exists in this weird legal gray area, unrecognized by any nation, yet fiercely independent for over half a century. The UK extended its territorial waters in 1987, which now technically includes the fort, but Britain has never tried to reclaim it. So, what is Sealand? Is it a real country, a glorified hobby, maybe even a brilliant marketing stunt? Honestly, it's probably a little bit of all three. But more than anything, it's a symbol. It proves that if you're stubborn enough, brave enough, and maybe just a little bit mad, you can still carve out your own small piece of freedom in the world. The motto they chose all those years ago, Imere Libertas, still rings true. From the sea, freedom. And if you want a piece of that freedom for yourself, the world's tiniest kingdom is, in a way, for sale. 10-minute story. Every day, a new pill of curiosity.